What's up guys, Nadem here. Today we're going to talk about dithering. So I'm going to be using Ozone 8 Maximizer to demonstrate dithering and my recommendations, my advice, and what I've learned from reading a few different manuals and reading online. So dithering is the process of adding this psychoacoustic, very small amount of noise. For the most part, it's inaudible. And the reason why we add it is because when we jump down from a 32-bit audio file to a 16-bit or 24-bit, there's a loss of detail. And what ends up happening, and I'm going to put a little image to demonstrate, what ends up happening is if we don't dither, we lose some of those details. It is really well explained when you look at imagery, when you look at two pictures being explained. We'll jump right into Ozone 8 Maximizer to show you how I have it set up, with my recent track as well. Here we have Izotope Ozone 8 Maximizer, and there's a little dither panel. It's been similar with their Izotope Ozone 7 as well. There's a dither panel here which turns it on or off. Now, when you work with audio in FL Studio, and this is the same reason why clipping is not really a problem until the very last stage, because even if you had audio clipping digitally at +1, +2, +3 dB, you're working in 32-bit audio, and 32-bit audio in FL has so much headroom. So don't be concerned even if your master was like kind of a bit hot, or you're working on a project and it's kind of hot, and for that reason 32-bit audio, when we render our OGG, MP3, whatever file you want as your output, you need to make sure dithering is set up properly to get the most out of your song and to make sure that you just don't have problems in the future. Let's see this panel here. We have a few different options. Let's talk about a few of these. There's the bit depth. So bit depth will change the, see there a lot of noise there, 8-bit, 12, 16, and 20 and 24. Now, the most commonly used ones are going to be 24 and 16. I still recommend dithering, even if you're going to render your project as a 24-bit wave file, which is the highest quality, kind of like a standard, like the industry standard. A lot of software, however, when I work in Sony Vegas, I use 16-bit, so I usually render a 16-bit wave, a 24-bit wave, and then I'll take my 24-bit wave and render that to an MP3. That's also a kind of a side note. If you want to render your MP3 and you only have and you're deciding, do I render it from the 16-bit or the 24-bit, render your MP3 from a 24-bit file to the MP3. You don't have to apply dithering again to the already dithered file. Dithering should be only at the last stage. So dithering is what you do at the very end, the final limiter. Don't do stacks and stacks of dithering. So in this case, there's a few options here. We have the bit depth, of course, so we're going to work with 24-bit here. We have the dither amount, off, low, medium, and strong. I recommend working with medium or strong. As Izotope says in their manual for Ozone 8, that medium is a good choice. Strong will eliminate any issue of distortion. Now, when you think, well, why would I choose low or off? Because if you're making a really loud track, if we take a look at the RMS here, how it says -97, 98, as you add, you can see it'll drop. If we go down to off, we'll go to this 12-bit to better demonstrate. Let's see here. You see how I jumped from off to strong and it jumped up in value, it got louder, because it is increasing the level of dithering. So when you do increase that amount, keep that in mind. It's going to increase the noise floor of the track. So the noise floor is going to go up, but it's very marginal, very small amounts, which is why they will recommend to people to put your ceiling, -2, -3, because when you put into consideration dithering and your track is slamming at 0 dB, you're entering really risky territory when it comes to playing back your song on big systems, huge speakers, stuff like that. So I recommend medium or strong. So here we were using strong. Now noise shaping, really cool. What noise shaping does is, and we can see it in action here, noise shaping will shape the noise such that it will go to the very end of the frequency spectrum. So again, this is something that is not heard very easily. I'm going to load up Voxengo span so we can see what it is I'm talking about. Now in Voxengo span, it says we're at 101.4, this peak, this RMS. Okay, so in the minus 90. If I go ahead and turn this off, again, it's around the same. It's because we're at 24-bit. Let's go down to 16-bit. You can see there, it's gone up. So it's at minus 80, minus 77. And if we turn it off, the value actually went very low. That doesn't mean that it's good or bad. It just means that if you turn on noise shaping and you jump to something like 8-bit, check this out. You'll visibly see the noise now. So you can see it. It's shaped right over here. It's kind of pumping there. Now let's go to strong. Now you guys can hear it. And let's play around with it. So strong, very loud, higher. So you can see the 8-bit, just jump to 8-bit to get a good idea of what dithering is doing in real time to your song. Turn this off too, because if you leave that on, you're not going to hear what it's doing. It might mute the dithering until audio actually plays back. So I would leave that off. You can also leave this auto blanking off if you're going to re-render your song and kind of rearrange the outro or intro. So I just leave that off because I don't really have a need for the auto blanking. You can see here, generally speaking, I would recommend, if you want good solid settings, just go for something like the medium and medium noise shaping, because keep that in mind. What noise shaping is doing is shaping the noise. It's adding kind of like a high pass. It's shaping it to be more on the end of the frequency spectrum, and the difference is marginal, between going from that medium, high, higher. So I would either do something like this, 16, medium, medium, or you can go full out, just add strong and max, because the difference is marginal. I'd say if you're adding a track if you're mastering a track that's like really solid, very clean, probably you won't have a concern. You could have medium. And I'd say if like loudness was important to you, you would probably be a bit more conservative with the dithering, because you don't want it to be adding a huge noise floor. But again, that noise floor is marginal, and you guys are already getting a noise floor from plugins like Waves SSL, or plugins that add analog warmth. For instance, here I'm using Waves SSL, and there's an analog button. So we're thinking, hey, cool, analog, what is that doing? If I reset Voxengo span, I just turned off dithering. We're at minus 101. If I turn off this analog button, check that out. So you can see how much it actually added. It added a lot, because if we add the dithering now, minus 92, okay, let's turn on analog. And we came up a bit. So other plugins can also raise your noise floor, and you might just not be aware of it, so keep that in mind. Good settings to go by are going to be that medium, medium, strong, max. These together are great if you're maybe even reworking a track, or maybe you're like remastering a track. Otherwise, I would just stick just conservative medium, 24, 16. In FL Studio, if you set it up like this and you're rendering a song, you do not need to turn on the dithering in the render window. So you won't need to turn on this. So when you're rendering a song like so, do not turn on FL Studio's dithering. That's only if you are not using a third-party plugin. Then you can use it. Otherwise, do not, because FL Studio's dithering will not be necessary. It is comparable to the dithering offered by Izotope. Generally speaking, they're all very similar, but you do get a bit more control with the dithering options in Izotope. Last but not least, there's two more options. These, just leave them on. The filter will not affect your audio quality. The filter will add a tiny filter that is, I believe, high passing, like around 1 hertz, like literally 1 hertz. And the limit peaks is, and it says there, suppresses spurious peaks at high frequencies or of high frequency shaped noise. So those are just to eliminate little quirks in the dithered noise. The same goes with this. It will not affect your actual audio quality of the track, nor will it change the low end, your sub bass, your bass. So I would leave these on by default. And harmonic suppression is off. It's disabled because that option is available when you are not dithering. So let's say you want to round off the track. You want to like truncate, round it off without dithering it. Because keep in mind, dithering is basically kind of like filling in the detail. It's taking that big canvas, making it smaller, kind of like filling in the missing details. But what harmonic suppression would do is to try and eliminate inaudible distorted frequencies or issues. And it says there, moves harmonic quantization distortion away from overtones of audible frequencies. So if we turn off, then we can use harmonic suppression. But I haven't used it. I can't see really a need to use it unless you didn't want dithering at all. Again, experiment with it. My recommended settings again would be medium and medium shaping. Or if you want to be a bit more stronger and eliminate any possibility of distortion, then stick with strong and maybe even just go max, medium, max. So guys, I hope you liked this video. I just wanted to shed some light on dithering because I feel like not a lot of people talk about dithering. It's kind of occulted. It's kind of not so much discussed. I'm not sure if it's because people feel like maybe it's not so important, but it can be, because you could encounter problems very rarely. Like, I mean, I used to master my stuff just blindly, not giving a fuck. Just control S, render that shit, no fucks given. But it can bite you in the ass when you see like a problem in the future. So practicing that stuff and taking a look at that stuff, I recommend you guys take a look at the manual. If you are using Izotope's maximizer, take a look at some of their manuals. There's a lot of valuable information in there where they talk about their recommended ceiling, how high you should set your ceiling in regards to, just universally. They just discuss it and give you some tips. I find that a comfortable ceiling for me is around at least 0.1, but preferably 0.2 or 0.3. Izotope likes using 0.3, but I would say 0.2 would be kind of like the universal standard. Anyways, guys, just wanted to talk about dithering. Hope you guys liked this video. Drop a like if you guys liked this video. If you didn't like it, press that fucking dislike button, you know what I'm saying? Stay subscribed. I got lots of videos coming on creating daily tutorial, sound design, reviews of plugins, and what else? What else are we missing?
You're missing my ass. Fab filter ass.
I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.